Hey VC, this is Ron. Thanks for joining me for another one of my record showings. Got a pretty good little pile of records here that I picked out. No consistent theme, but so I think some pretty interesting titles. So let's get going on those. This first one I want to show is my Pink Floyd, The Piper at the Gates of Dawn on Tower US copy, and this is a mono copy. And I picked this up a good 15-20 years ago, I think. I paid $100 for it out of a local record store. And compared to what those are going for these days, that was a good price. The cover is a nice VG Plus, and the vinyl is excellent condition, a little bit of paper scuffing on it, but it's quite clean. And it's East Coast pressing, as you can see by the smaller, finer text on the word Pink Floyd and the song titles. So I'm real happy to have that. Quite different mixes on the mono for this album. So that's definitely a grail for a lot of people. This next one is by Bill Nelson, Northern Dream, and this is a UK pressing of his first solo album, 1971, and it's pre-Bebop Deluxe. He kind of put this album out himself, and it was financed through his record store that he owned in the UK, and it's also on his own label, Smile. And this side one has a picture label of him, and side two has sort of a cartoon type label. Really good album, quite strong. Kind of a do-it-yourself singer-songwriter. It's psyche in places with backwards tracks and that kind of thing. Folky, little rocks out in a couple places, and when you first put the album on, it kind of reminds you of Neil Young. It's very much into that vein. Just a real good, solid album. And this next one is Highway 61 Revisited, Bob Dylan. And this is my original US copy. And this has the alternate version of From a Buick 6 on it. It starts off with the harmonica. And how I can tell that, if you look in the trail off, the matrix information, there's a stamper that says 1B on side 1, and on side 2 it says 1E. So that's just a good way to look at the album and distinguish if it's going to have the alternate take of From a Buick 6. This next album is The Comfortable Chair, and this is a soft psych album with male-female vocals, 1968. And it's on Ode. And I guess this band was actually discovered by Jim Morrison. And it's actually produced by John Densmore and Robbie Krieger. Just a good, solid album. Definitely worth picking up if you can find a cheap copy. This next one's just an excellent West Coast sounding LP. Just solid from start to finish. Wilkinson Tricycle. This is their only album, and it's on Date, and it's from 1969. And there's reissues of this floating around, so I really recommend you get this one. This is a really good one. It's not overly psychedelic or anything like that, but it's just got such a good feeling and sound to it. You'll like it when you first put it on. It's just one of those albums that you just like immediately. And this one is an underrated album. It's The Revolt of Emily Young by Fox. And it's a concept LP on Decca, 1971. And it's kind of a rock opera type of thing. Basically, it's the same concept as Suddenly One Summer by J.K. and Company, except the character in this album is female. you know, she leaves home to find the world and tries some weed for the first time and falls in love, you know, experiments with sex, and then she gets into the harder drugs, the needle and all that stuff, and then she ends up overdosing at the end of the album. But pretty much the same concept, but good strong album. I'd definitely recommend it if you can find it. Clean and good price, well worth grabbing. And this one's kind of another underrated album. It's Some Pair, and this is their only album, and it's got a great psych cover, but it's not necessarily all that psych. It's on the Euphoria label, and I believe this is from 71 or 72, something like that. And it's actually a write-up on it in the Acid Archive. And later this would be reissued as part of a tax scam LP under the name Sonny and Doug. I like it. It's kind of a mixture of all different things thrown together. Like I said, it's not psych in the true sense of the word, but it's a good album. I think it's a keeper. I'm going to show some promotional copies now, and this is the Grateful Dead, and this album is from 1969, and it's their last real psyche album, and you can see it's a rare white label promo, and I always had a hard time pronouncing the title of this album. Moaxa or something like that. And yeah, I got a really good find on this. $15, really clean. Yeah, it's a pretty amazing find. And I guess from what the word on the street is, this little girl sitting right here is Courtney Love from the band Hole. And I guess her parents were roadies for the Dead, and that's supposed to be her sitting there. Great album. I love those early Dead albums. Really good stuff. This is another white label promo, and it's the Seeds Live at Merlin box, and it's got a stamp down here for DJ use. Not an easy album to find original to begin with, but to find a white label promo, that's even harder. So being such a Seeds fan, that's definitely got a nice place in my collection. There's another rare promo, and this is The Cycle is Complete by Bruce Palmer. And Bruce Palmer was the bass player in Buffalo Springfield, and this is a white label promo on Verve Forecast. And this is actually the only copy I've ever seen of this as far as being original goes. It's got the DJ sticker on the back of it, and it's kind of it's sort of in a proggy, jazzy, trance psych vein. I think it's from '69. And this is another promo that I got, and it's The Rainy Days, That Acapulco Gold, and it's on Uni, and this is a mono copy. And although it doesn't have any kind of a promo designation on the cover anywhere of any kind, it does have a promotional Uni label. And you can see right there it says promotional copy right there. And it's an okay album. It's got that old-timey styled song, that Acapulco Gold that was going around, you know, like Winchester Cathedral type of stuff. It's got kind of a soul R&B garagey vibe going on it. But there's one outstanding sight cut on here, and that is In My Mind Lives the Forest. And that was actually the B-side of that Acapulco Gold. It also has a cover version of For What It's Worth by Buffalo Springfield. And that band was out of Colorado. And this next one is the first album by the Ohio Express. And this is a more garagey style for them. And it's got a track on here that was originally a single. It's called Beg, Borrow, and Steal. And they released that under their previous name, which was The Rare Breed. And then they threw it onto this album. It's got an interesting cameo label that you don't really see too much of. It's a pretty good garagey styled album, pretty solid, and I would recommend you get this if you ever can find it. It's not as easy to find as their other albums. And they do a really good version of Try It on here that the Standells did. So that alone is, I mean, that's just for that song, you know, you need to get that. This one, I just picked this up today. I've never heard it, and it's Sonny Bono Interviews. And this is from '67. It's his excursion in the world of psych, and it's supposed to be pretty decent. I found a mono copy of it, which I think is more rare than the stereo copies. You just don't see this album around in Phoenix. This is actually the first copy I think that I've ever actually held in my hand. So I've been looking for this for a while, and I finally picked this up. It's pretty clean. I snagged it today for $5, so I'm kind of anxious to hear it. This is another one that I got today, and it's the first Creedence LP, Bayou Country. And I'm not a real CCR fan too much, but I really like Born on the Bayou on here. They get into a really nice vibe on that one. I like that track a lot. And plus it's got this rare blurb sticker on here. I'll try and get a close-up of it for you. And I never saw that before, so that's a really cool sticker. And when I first saw it, I thought maybe this was some kind of a new reissue or something. But I was looking at it and I thought, wow, this is an original copy, so that was cool. And now I'm going to show some soundtrack LPs. I pulled a few here. And this is my copy of The Trip that had Peter Fonda in it. And I have a DVD recording of this movie that I got off of cable, and it's pretty good. This is a good soundtrack. Side 1's the best side. They put all the real cool psychedelic stuff on side 1, and side 2 is not as good, and I think just from the style of the label I'd say this is a West Coast pressing. And it is a mono, so mono is what you want, because if you get the stereo, it's going to be fake stereo. So this is a real cool psych soundtrack. This next one is my copy of Ride on Sunset Strip, and this has a promo free stamp right here, so it's a promotional copy. And this is a duophonic, which is basically a fancy word for fake rechanneled stereo. I wish it was mono, but unfortunately I don't have that. But I'm just happy to have it because it's real clean. And I know Vinyl Richie showed one of these the other day, and he's got a mono one. So I was kind of drooling over that one. This is Psych Out. And it's got the Seeds, and they're actually in the movie. This is a picture from the actual movie itself, and this is pretty good. This is on Sidewalk, and I guess this is a stock label. It's yellow. Pretty cool one. And I've seen that movie as well. And this is a pretty obscure movie. It's Privilege, and this is a uni soundtrack. And I think this is from '68, maybe '69 at the very latest. And it had Paul Jones in it, who was he was a singer for Manfred Mann. And this is a pretty poppy affair. A lot of orchestration, pop vocals by Paul Jones. But there's one really cool song on here, and it's called Free Me. It's on side 1. So if you ever see this album for like $1 or something at a thrift store, it's definitely worth picking up just to have it for that song. Really, just a really good sort of a gloomy psyche tune. Real good strong vocals by Jones on that one too. This is Zabriskie Point, and this is a Michelangelo and Antonioni film. And he also did the movie Blow Up that featured the Yardbirds, and it's on MGM. And this has got a lot of obscure tracks by well-known bands, Pink Floyd, the American Kaleidoscope, The Dead, Jerry Garcia. And it's all stuff that you couldn't get anywhere else. This is, exclusively on this soundtrack. So this is definitely one to have. And there's one song on here, Come In Number 51, Your Time Is Up by Pink Floyd. And that's basically an alternate version of Careful With That Axe, Gene. And this is another pretty weird album, or pretty weird movie, and it's Candy. And I've seen this movie, and it was pretty flipped out. Ringo Starr's in it. It's on ABC, and it's got the Byrds and Steppenwolf on the soundtrack. And it's really cool to have this because it's got an alternate version of Child of the Universe that has orchestration backing on it instead of just the Byrds playing. I believe that song came out on, it might have been Dr. Byrds and Mr. Hyde. I think it was that, or it was the one before it. But pretty cool. You used to see this around. I used to see it a lot, but it's kind of disappeared now. And this is my copy of Head by the Monkees. And this movie is just this is just a great cult classic movie. I have this movie in my archive, and Frank Zappa's in it. He makes an appearance. If you've never seen this movie, you're very much missing out. Great soundtrack too. More of an adult Monkees on this one. And this is my copy of Easy Rider, just a classic, all-time classic biker movie. And big names on this one. And this was a good one to have for a couple of tracks by Roger McGuinn, who is the singer for the Byrds. He does Ballad of Easy Rider and It's Alright Mom, Only Bleeding. And you can only get those songs on this album. Okay, this one's a pretty cool album that I picked up a while back, and it's from 1978. It's really obscure, and I'd like to know if any of you guys are familiar with this, or can fill me in with any history about it. The name of the band is Diamond Rio, and it's Rough Cuts, and it's sort of it come out during the punk era. and 1978. It's kind of got that feel to it. It's kind of got a garagey, punky, hard rock vibe. Really cool album. It's recorded out of Pittsburgh, PA, and I think it's their only album. There may be one more, I'm not sure. But really good, solid album. I really like this album a lot, man. And the cool thing about it, it's on a small label. It's on Mad Dog Records, and it's on red vinyl. Came out at the time in the late 70s when the colored vinyl revival was kicking into full gear. And I made a little note here that this also came out on Piccadilly. So I think that would probably be the Canadian pressing. If you ever spot it, grab it. Really cool record. Okay, that does it pretty much for that main pile. And I've got a few Sonics records that I just recently picked up that I'm going to show. So if you're not into that or have no interest in those, I'll let you go, and I'll catch you next time. Oh, you're still with me. Okay, so that means you might want to check out my Sonics records. Alright, cool. The first one I want to show is that I just picked this up, and I got it off eBay. And I guess it came out several years ago. It's the Sonics Busybody live in Tacoma, 1964. It's on Norton. And it's 2 different radio broadcasts. And pretty lo-fi raw recordings, but very, very historical in nature as it catches the Sonics in their earliest of days. Well, not the real earliest of days, but the earliest days with Jerry Rosalie. Side 1 is all instrumentation, and they do a lot of the tracks that were popular with Northwest bands at the time. You know, and there's a song that they do, one of the songs that they do is called Going Back to Granny's. And that was part of the melody by the Viceroys. I guess that was a Viceroys song. And I got this record from Bo a while back in his VCLT. And so that's kind of cool that the Sonics covered that song in the earliest of days. And I was going to mention this in one of my videos, and I kind of spaced it out. The flip side of this record is called Dartell Stomp. And when you put it on, it's an instrumental, and it's I'm not exactly sure of the year, 60, probably 62, 63, 64, right in that time frame sometime. When you put it on, the first thing that comes to mind is Mr. Farmer by the Seeds. So I'm just kind of wondering if the Seeds heard that record and they ripped the basic concept off for Mr. Farmer. But yeah, I put that on and I couldn't believe it. I thought, wow, Mr. Farmer. So that was really cool. So thanks again for that, Bo. And then I got a couple of singles. This one is from last year's Record Store Day, and it comes in a really heavy stock cardboard sleeve, and the record label is Muddy Roots, and it's got a song on here, Bad Betty by the Sonics, which was a new song, and that song ended up on their current album that they just released. And I'm pretty sure it's the same recording. They didn't re-record. And the other side, it has a Mudhoney track, I Like It Small. And it's on kind of a marble-ish splatter vinyl, which is pretty cool. So that was a nice addition to add to my Sonic stuff. And then I got this one also. And check this sleeve out. I mean, that is just the coolest sleeve. And cardboard sleeve, and it's on Big Beat, and it's out of the UK, and they reproduced the Etiquette label, Small Spindlehole. It's a 4-song EP, black vinyl, and there's a couple of rarities on here. It's got the basic Have Level Travel. It's got the album version of The Witch, which is, I guess it's a little bit longer than the single, because it says full-length version on here. And then it's got a previously, well, it's maybe not previously unreleased, but it's previously unreleased in vinyl form. This is the first vinyl appearance of this recording. It's the full-length version of Psycho, and it's 5 seconds longer, and it has this blood-curdling screams at the end of the recording that they edited off. And then the other rare version is, it's got the Witch alternate version. It's called the Switchblade version, where Larry Pariappa took a knife blade and dragged it up and down his guitar strings to make this real eerie screeching sound. Interesting, but I don't like it as well as the version that was originally released. Okay, that does it. I'll see you guys later, and take care and happy hunting.